Hey, everybody. Welcome to Perpetual Motion, a podcast about current trends, communication, wellness, and relationships. I'm Dr. Moe Anderson, and my goal is to help you stress less, produce more, and love the ones you're with. Today, I have a guest who is beyond amazing. Dr. Masudi Stolard is an entrepreneurial strategist, speaker, multi-published author, and former White House intern. Yes, a Black man in the White House, a White House intern, and he's a new father. We're going to talk about repositioning yourself to amplify your impact, and he is a subject matter expert in this area. I'm so excited. So if you're new to my podcast, please subscribe to us on Pandora, Google, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you'll be notified about new episodes. Hey, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.
You can't say Dr. Moe ain't tell ya that fear magnifies the consequences of failure. What are you scared of? Why are you afraid? I'd rather live like I'm dying than live to die. Any day, my heart is pure, my soul is safe. Enlighten our sisters and brothers, how will you woke us still undercovers?
So excited to have this amazing man, Dr. Masudi Stolard, on the program today. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you so much, Sora. How you doing?
I am well. I did not mention in your introduction, but I just hinted at it that you are a member of my esteemed brotherhood, Phi Beta Sigma, which bonds us even more. I've known this gentleman for a real long time. We go way back. And he is, when you talk about a subject matter expert in marketing, entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurial strategist. Let me get it right. And marketing and business intelligence. He does it all. And he's going to help us out today because I need help in all of those areas. But before we go there, I want to talk about fatherhood. You got a new baby, right?
I do. And not to mess up your flow, let me just say something real quick. I'm sure your audience already knows this, that you are an amazing human being. And so I want to thank you for the opportunity to kind of speak with you today. But you're a truly, truly amazing human being, very giving, very motivational, an aspiring person. We've known each other for a long time. I know you're always doing work to kind of spread knowledge and to give to others and create opportunities for others. And so I just want to thank you, not just for myself, but the people who may not have a chance to even thank you directly. I truly benefit from that. And I'll tell this quick story real quick. I'm working on getting my MBA, right? I'm interviewing at Georgia State University. Mm-hmm. And, whenever you're getting your stuff together, you're trying to put all the stuff you've done, your volunteer work, your things that you donated and the events that you put on and so forth. Right. And the interesting thing is that, so when they went through all of my entire packet, and this is a one-on-one interview, the only thing they really asked me about was about the work that I did for the Austin Black Newcomers Association. That was the organization. That was what they asked about. They looked at the GPA. They're like, okay, great. They look at the other stuff. That's great. You worked here. But like, tell us about this particular organization, And so, again, I just want to thank you for that opportunity. I think that was one of the things that they saw that was probably different versus like when you look at a bunch of people who are trying to get into to get their MBA. This is one thing that kind of set things apart. So I just want to thank you for that personally. And again, thank you on behalf of everybody. So your listeners already know that you're an amazing person, but I just kind of want to reiterate and underline that.
Thank you. And before we go to fatherhood, just in case people wonder what we're talking about, because, I'm back in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. When I was in Austin, I started a community service project initiative, Austin Black Newcomers Association. Austin at that time was only about 7% African-American. I think it's down to 4 now, Masudi. Right. And I wanted people to have an easier time than I did finding the Black community, Black organizations, Black churches. It was really, really difficult. And a lot of people would move just because they didn't have that social connection. And you were a big help to me in an event we did over at the University of Texas. You brought in vendors, you marketed, got the media there. That's a great story. I will reference that when I'm wondering why I'm doing some of the things I'm doing. That makes me feel good. But we both have a heart for community service as part of our commitment with the fraternity and the sorority with our churches and all of that. But we'll get back to that. Right now, I want you to tell me about your new little one. And I mean, you're not old, but you're a mature father. And I told you I saw that Kevin Hart movie and him and Alfred Wood. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's quite the best thing he's done, in my opinion.
Man,
yeah. So how's it feel? What's that new fatherhood thing like?
I can take it from two different points. So one, thank you. Yes, I have a newborn. He's almost 13 weeks old. And he is amazing. And I know everybody is proud of their newborns, but like I'm 45 years old. So like I'm definitely a mature father. And I had to learn a lot. In a short period of time, but I have an amazing wife who's definitely helped me with that. One of the things that I did a long time ago is I wrote a list of the things I wanted in a wife. And I prayed for someone who had a maternal instinct. And so that was something that I prayed, but I wrote this a long time ago. So 10 years, 20 years, however long it was, had passed, not really thinking much about it, but then realizing like, oh yeah, the wife that I got, oh yeah, she's on it. So she's done all this stuff, purchased all this stuff that I didn't think that we needed. I'm like, do we need this stuff for the baby? Everything she has purchased, we have used for this child, and made my life so much easier, you know? And so I did see the movie Fatherhood, and it's all true. Especially if you haven't seen the chance to see the movie, check the movie out. The first 15, 20 minutes when he's becoming a new father, the baby crying, trying to kind of deal with that. How do you handle that? The white noise thing and so forth, you know?
I love that.
I'm not here to like promote any products, but there's this app and it's called a hatch machine that has different noise. You have traditional white noise. You have like a laundry, all these different things that babies sometimes sleep well with. That has made our life so much easier. At least to get a fighting chance to try to get some sleep. So
I will. Good looking out. I will drop that in the show notes. I'll drop a link to that because honestly, I use white noise just for me to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no baby grandkids come over, but they sleep like a log. But I need it for me. It calms my mind. So that's good to know about. And you know what? You do have a lovely wife. I enjoyed having dinner with you guys, meeting her. Look forward to getting together again. But really, really happy for you.
Thank you,
Masudi, that you, fatherhood, it just changes you, doesn't it?
It does. You got to work faster. When you're trying to balance entrepreneurship and fatherhood, sometimes you feel like it's almost impossible. But what it does do is you have to make decisions quicker. You know, your son is going to sleep, or at least I have a son. But if your child is sleeping for, let's say, at least 2 hours, sometimes it's only an hour, you gotta think. You got to go ahead and make the decision. You ain't had time to really like revamp as much stuff as you would like. You know, you got to kind of make these decisions to kind of move forward and whatever it is that you're doing, you know. And I have a great wife. So when I have things like this that come up, she's definitely able to kind of take care of him. But, you know, we're partner. So when she's at work, then I'm taking care of him.
Sure.
And I try to make sure they give my full attention as well. So sometimes I try to put my phone down and just kind of stare and sing and dance and just entertain the baby,
be present,
all day. Yeah, absolutely.
Be present. Mindfulness. Absolutely. When I think about the greatest moments of my life, I am never sitting in an office. I am never in a meeting. Those visions never come to mind. So they really make you prioritize and focus. You alluded to your education. You talked about Georgia State, where you got your MBA, but you got a BBA at St. Edward's. Not long ago, you got your doctorate in business administration from Capella University. And y'all check this out. This brother did his dissertation in business intelligence, the influence of sentiment analysis on small business. Now, I'm pretty bright, but I don't even know what the hell that means. What does that even mean? What does that make you a subject matter expert in? I know what I think you do, but what can you do with all of that?
Well, I've always had a heart for entrepreneurship and small business, even since I was a kid. And so really sentiment analysis is just a fancy phrase for like customer feedback, right? What are the customers feeling when it comes to their products? Because when it comes on the business side of stuff, you're thinking about the product line. Are they purchasing something and not purchasing something? But really to for it to be more effective, you want to know what they're feeling, right? Is there a reason why someone might drive 20 minutes extra to go to a particular restaurant, right? Is there a reason why that if you have, say, a red pen and a blue pen and a yellow pen, and they may buy a little bit of yellow pens, but they don't buy any red pens, but they buy a ton of blue pens. Is there a reason or they're feeling about that? It might be because they have fraternal and sorority connections, but it also could be something deeper to that. and so forth. So when we talk about sentiment analysis, it's really taking a closer look what the customer feels about when it comes to their particular product and service. And I can do a whole thing on that. And I won't bore everybody with the details, but
it's not boring. Just quickly though, how do you assess that? Is that surveys? Is that conversations, calls?
Yes, all of it is, okay. And so really, what has helped is social media has transitioned so much, right? So when I started my dissertation 5 years ago, and I just finished in October of last year, I was at a point where I was able to kind of see the world changing in that area so much, because it used to just be surveys, right? It used to just be surveys. And even traditional back in the days would just be a manager running a cashier saying, we're going to just do this, But then what they realized is that if we actually ask the customers, what products do you like? Do you like a certain type of oatmeal? Things of that nature. Back in World War II, one of the studies that I did was they had certain foods that they were just putting out there. And they assumed that because it was wartime and people were desperate for food, that people would buy certain products anyway. But people weren't buying certain stuff. And so what they did is they asked them, said, what is it that you would actually want? And as simple as it sounds now in present day, it was kind of a new thing back then. But then as my research showed, is that as simple as it is now, you have to ask yourself, are you actually doing it? Are you just putting stuff out there and not actually talking to your customers, talking to your audience about what it is they would like to hear? And so from that, then you can make better business decisions. You can choose to say that you want this particular type of oatmeal, not just any oatmeal, but this particular type of oatmeal, things of that nature. So
I like that. We're both authors, and I have a lot of authors who are listeners to my podcast. And I want you to tell us about your 3 books. I think you have 3 books now.
Yeah.
3 books, but also how can we use this type of feedback as an author for somebody selling a product on a small scale? I don't have the resources to
right.
do that in that way.
I'll give you this example. I was working with somebody the other day, and they said they were and this is part of it. If you ever visit my Instagram, it's M Stolard, MSTOLARD. I talk a lot about repositioning. And so I had a person who was, he had a podcast, but he was also talking about tax credit. He's also talking about traveling. Nothing wrong with being like in multiple different sections. But what I encourage him to do is go back and look at the different, your different shows and see what's resonating with your audience. You may, not that you can't do all these topics, but if you find out that one topic is being more beneficial than the other, you may want to come back and do more about that particular topic. Right. And so a lot of times we as people, we want to do what we feel, what we like, and that's important. You know what I mean? But you also want to make sure that if you want to have an audience, you want to grow your business, then are the people on the other side receiving what it is that you're saying? So when you talk about my 3 particular, I have an Introduction to Entrepreneurship. That's my first book. That's my primary book. It's my bestseller. And it walks people through from idea to taking their business to an actual tangible physical business, And so I think that's important, because what it does is sometimes people don't always have a rich uncle to give them money to kind of get started, right? So you're talking about starting from zero, right? Getting a DBA, for example, which is like $10 to $25 on your county, right? So you have a business name, so you can get a bank account and so forth. But a lot of times people will say, get your LLC. But the problem is, if you start out with an LLC and then you want to change the name, that's a $300 change versus just a $25 change. So I'm coming from an aspect, if you're starting out from scratch, get the DBA, it's $25. You start making a little bit of money, you start making a few $1,000s, and you say, I want this name, then get the LLC, and then you'll be more secure and so forth. But if you just, so that's one thing. Right. So the Entrepreneur's Preparations Checklist, that's my second book. Really, it helps people to it kind of complements the first book, but it tells you if you want to balance your starting your business and balance your time with your family, friends, and so forth, it kind of tells you what to do, where you're going to put your family on notice. You're going to say, okay, guess what? I'm going to take on this project. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to tell you day 1, do this. Day 2, do this. On day 7, it's going to say, hey, family and friends, we're going to go out to dinner. And you're going to give them that undivided attention, right? And it takes you through a 60-day time frame for that, just so that you are trying to balance both. Right.
And let me jump in there.
Sure.
And this is a big topic of mine, life balance and mindfulness, because you put important things on your calendar. And so often we leave things like exercise and family times to discretionary time. It's
Right.
not really written down. It's not really
Right.
carved out. And so it gets sacrificed in a moment. But if
True.
things are important to you, you make plans for them. And that includes doing things with your family and getting their buy-in. I like that you said talking to the family. And I don't think it's just a dictatorship or a lecture, but this is
Right.
what I want to do. I need your support. This is how you can help me. These are the steps I need to take. And so many people, I mean, you see so many arguments and disagreements and divorces, it's
Yeah.
like, he's working all the time. She's working all the time. And the person working all the time is like, I'm doing it for you. Right. But you didn't express that.
You didn't
And
express
I
that.
didn't buy in on that I wanted you to do that for me. So
Right.
getting people involved early on before it gets hard and helping them understand
Absolutely.
the rewards is critical. So I'm glad that you addressed that
Yeah.
in your book.
And you want to make sure you have intentional, like you said, you have to make intentional time on your calendar, even if you got to plan it 2 weeks out to say, listen, on this particular day, I'm not doing nothing, And so one of the things, I'll tell you this quickly, is that, so I got married in 2019. And so one of my concerns, though, about getting married was that I was still in the middle of my dissertation. That was my one word vocabulary. And I was not sure how I was going to be able to balance both, and I'm a man of God. And so I was like, God, listen, I need to be, one thing that I have done is that I have, in going to church, you learn about what happens, what are successful marriages, what are ones that are unsuccessful. And and I'm not a marriage expert, but one of the things that I did recognize was that being present in your marriage is super important. So I was like, God, listen, I needed to finish the dissertation, this, but I also want to be a present husband. So I need you to help me to do both, and whatever that looks like. And so I told my wife, but then I was like, listen, we can get married, but I'm a little concerned about trying to balance both and so forth. And I'll tell you this stuff. What happened was, because, we also didn't actually have enough money for the wedding and things of that nature. And God worked this out.
No, I didn't know that because I was at the wedding. It looked like, y'all had any money to me.
No, God blessed us. I'll tell you
what happened. I was there.
I did forget you were there. Yeah. So what had happened was, we submitted our name to a church that was giving out free weddings, right? And so we were like, and so for me though, being like, okay, well, this will appease her. And the chance of us getting picked is fine because then we won't get picked, but at least she'll know that I'm making a genuine effort. But then we're not going to get picked, so I can still work on my dissertation. Well, it turned out I checked my email one night on a Tuesday, and it said, "Congratulations, you won this free wedding." The only caveat was that you had 8 weeks, to put the wedding out, and so that was a little bit of a time crunch. But fast forward to all of that, I was able to get married. We got married. It was a beautiful wedding. My wife was happy. Ceremony was great, and reception and so forth. But I was still made time to do my dissertation, and I still made time to take Saturdays or a few days, not just to rest for myself, but to say just be one-on-one with our daughter. I have a bio daughter, and she's now 13, and my wife, and so almost a year and change later, I finished my degree. Like a year and change later, when I didn't see there was even like an end, because along with dissertation, those people who know, they've beaten up your stuff. They're saying your stuff is not worthy. You need to rewrite it.
Right.
And you try to, how are you ever going to do that stuff? And I was
when they say defend, it's more than a moment. People think that's a few hours. It's full scale defend. I know that journey.
Yeah. So I say all to say just that I got married. I prayed about it. I made point to intentionally focus on my wife and make sure I was present at the time that I was present, letting her know that I'm going to go work on my dissertation at certain times. And so I let her know that I needed to do that. And I was still able to be present in my marriage. And I was able to graduate within a year. Wow. And so and that's like, I mentioned that because of the Entrepreneur's Preparation Checklist. It tells you about balancing both, and you can actually balance them both if you take the time to kind of do both. So
you can. So the other 3 books, I think you told us about one. You started with one, and I got you out track.
No. Yeah. So the first book was Entrepreneurship, Introduction to Entrepreneurship. And that was the first book. The second book was the Entrepreneur's Preparation Checklist. That's the second book. So the third book is the 4 Myths of Starting a Business. So this was a short book that I put together. It was in the middle of my dissertation, but I did it because I was getting beat up so much. I needed something that I had control over that I was writing. And so it helped me to kind of like put something out there that was beneficial to other people, but I had full control over the editing and the writing, but it was really a short book. But mainly one of the things that I just in my time is that when people are wanting to start business and so forth, they're concerned about a few different things, and I won't tell you all the details, but I'll just give you one simple example from the book, though, is that people want an EIN, right? And so EIN is important. It's kind of like your social security number for your business.
Employer identification number.
Exactly. And so sometimes people will charge to do that. And I'm not taking away from anybody who has services where you charge for fees. But the truth of the matter is your EIN is free directly from the IRS. Right. And so even though people are charging $25, $100, $200, whatever they're charging for these fees, it's something you can do yourself. And most of that information, your name, your address, what's the name of the company, you fill it online and you get your EIN right then and there.
Right.
You know, and it's not something you necessarily have to pay for. And I know sometimes we feel like it's paying for certain services that are going to be beneficial to you. And that is 100% true. But there are some stuff that you can take a few minutes to kind of do on your own. And that's the kind of stuff I just kind of touch base on.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So
good stuff. I've had several businesses and been a PC, PA, LLC, and you're right there. You know, we talked about earlier, there are things you should and need to delegate, but simple little things, even copyright. We're both authors, you know.
Yeah.
People charge you $100, $200 to do that. You can do that through the Library of Congress website. And what people don't realize is whoever is doing it for you, all the things they're having you fill out, they just turn around and submit. You're basically filling out the application and they're charging you to submit it. So not everything can you do by yourself, but as you're saying, it's worth it to take a look. When they give you that checklist, it's worth it to take a look at those line items and see, particularly starting out, how can I cut some costs here? We talked about the books. Those are all around entrepreneurship, helping people with their startups, helping them start businesses, and great books. Another thing you did that a lot of people don't get to do and certainly don't see people of color doing is being a former White House intern. How did that come about? Let's touch on that a little bit. Inspire some young person out there. I think that's amazing. All of it is amazing, but it's like the ABNA. That's the thing that I don't see a lot.
No, you're right. You know, and it was a unique opportunity, you know, and so the short version is that I have always been, I'm not considered a person that is like super gung-ho in politics, but I feel like I'm a level that like I pay attention, right? I like to know what's kind of going on. And so for me, I was finishing up at Georgia State, and I'm always on the website and I'm looking for jobs, and I'm every couple of months, I always look on the White House to see like, is something hiring. And so then I saw they had this White House internship, and I was like, I wonder if I could actually apply for that. Well, the truth of the matter is Obama was in office. And so that gave me the confidence to say, you know what, if a black man in office, I can try, because I don't know, as confident as I am on a lot of things, I don't know if I would have been as gung-ho to try for a White House internship if he wasn't necessarily in office. And that's one aspect. That's just full disclosure. But the short version is I applied. I had to get a couple of references and so forth. And so one of my references was, may she rest in peace, was Joyce Adejumo. She's now passed. She's the owner of Mitch's Gallery. Yeah. And she wrote this amazing just recommendation letter for me and stuff. She also sent a plaque with the number of hours that I had volunteered and stuff at the time. And so I set all the information up there and as part of the packet. And so I had a bunch of interviews and so forth. And you know, and they brought me on. One thing I'll tell you, though, this is the interesting piece, is that when the White House is interviewing, though, you get calls from like the FBI. Right. You get calls from like White House legal security. So if you're not in that world and all of a sudden you get a voicemail message that we the FBI, we need you to call you back. It's a little uncertain because they're not selling. That's
like background checks.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
But they're not saying, hey, we're calling you because of the background check.
You don't know what it is. It's like the IRS. Like, oh my God, what did I do? Okay. I feel you.
Yeah. So they're not saying that a background check question, a follow-up question. They're literally just saying, you got to call us back, you know? And I remember one time, they wanted your family information, and it's not personal information, but it's the White House. So you're supposed to give this information. I understand that more so now, but I left my brother's information off, right? My brother, I have a younger brother. And so they were like, White House, it's like, we know you have a brother. We need you to put this information on I think it's the SF-85 or something to that effect, you know? And so I thought it was a huge thing, but it wasn't a huge thing. But they're like, listen, we already know. You know what I mean? So
we just need you to confirm what we already know.
So word of advice, if you ever were going to work for the government on a certain level, 99% of the time, they already know everything about you. They're just confirming that
y'all heard about you, you know? Heard, so don't hide your uncle, your auntie.
They already know. No matter what they did in the past. My brother's done anything in the past, but what they did, they already know, you know? And so, and I'll tell you this too, and this is something that's not considered top secret, but if you start to go higher levels up, let's just say levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4, let's say, is the highest level, means you're working directly with the president or whatever. you're going to have another set of interviews where they're going to interview your neighbors, things of that nature, or whatever too. So again, they already know, they know these things, you know? And so you just want to be upfront and honest about whatever it is that's going on, good, bad, or indifferent in that type of environment, because a lot of times they're really just testing to see if you had something that was a little uncertain, a little concerned. And I never had any issues. But one thing I learned is if you had like, I don't know, maybe you ran a speeding ticket or you stole something once when you was 12, chances are they already know that information. A lot of times they're just trying to see if you're going to be honest about it. And so I just want to advise people just to be upfront.
Yeah, the police department, they do the same thing. And the reason I wanted to touch on that is not to diminish the other things you've done, but like I said, it's something unique. And just like, you know, President Obama was in office and that motivated you a little bit more to think this is attainable for me. I'm hoping some other young person can hear this, or older person. Administration doesn't just take millennials. That they'll hear it and think, you know what? Hey, I can try. Dr. Stolard did it, you know, so that's my goal in bringing that up, because not many of us know anyone who's had that opportunity. Did you get to meet President Obama?
I met President Obama. I met Michelle Obama. I got a picture of President Obama. I don't have that particular picture, though. That was just the one thing I wasn't able to get. But I have a picture that shows that I was there. So I have that. And it was a great experience. You know, it was a rewarding experience. And I advise people just to try. Really, it was really a shot in the dark. You know what I mean? I mean, my father is former military, but he didn't necessarily call any favors for that. You know, I didn't have anybody that worked as a congressman or whatever the case may be. I literally just happened to apply, and I was probably a little bit older than some of the, this was 10 years ago now, but some of the older, some of the interns and so forth. And so I would encourage you, like, if you something you want to do, just go for it. Just go, put your stuff together, put your packet together, spell check. Now we got Grammarly as an opportunity to do for it, and submit it and see what it is. And so for me, you know, we had a couple of interviews and stuff, but I learned a lot when I was in that. I think it helped me with my writing as far as writing publicly, for not just for people like professionals, but public facing documents that are sometimes simple or sometimes complex, you know? Right. And so I learned a lot about that kind of thing. I was in the Department of Presidential Personnel. And so we conducted a lot of interviews and so forth for people who were going to serve on different committees under that particular administration. And so yeah. And I bet you met some amazing people in those roles, did some great networking. And, you know, just like you mentioned, Mitchie's earlier, your educational opportunities and experiences, you moved around to different cities for that. Right. Don't you find that all of this works together? Sometimes people feel like, you know, what am I doing this for? This has nothing to do with what I want to do in the future. But in my experience, whether it was working at, Burger King, tutoring, babysitting. I even worked at a travel trailer company on an assembly line, which motivated me to go on through college, because that was not for me. It was a great job, good pay. But, I worked at McDonald's. $4.25 an hour. And so that taught me, like, okay, $4.25. At the time I had a phone bill that was $50. And at the time that was all the money in the world. I was like, how is I going to pay for that? And I want to ask my mom for the money. So I got a job at McDonald's, $4.25. But what that does, like you said, working at Burger King and so forth, helps you just regulate with people to understand what's going on. And the systems, when I was at Burger King, oh my goodness, the systems, the efficiency, the training. Absolutely. Showing up to work on time, taking your lunch, coming back on time. Working with the team, all of it works together for good. So, people, when you get a chance, it's not always going to be the perfect job, know. Yeah, but you can take all of that, put into your entrepreneurial efforts, and make for a better manager, a better leader, a better owner, using those experiences, including what not to do. Because I have had we had bad things happen, but it just made me stronger. So let's focus in now, hone in a little bit on the repositioning yourself. Tell us, I see you on Instagram, Stolard, Stolard. He's on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and mstolard.com. Look him up and connect. But I primarily see you on Instagram, for me, talking about repositioning yourself and giving some really great motivational strategies. Tell us about this. Yeah. So, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm on all the social media platforms. My primary one is Instagram. I do post on Twitter. I'm trying to get better on the Twitter aspect, but I have LinkedIn and also Facebook as well. And so really, and I'll just say this a little bit about repositioning. So we talked a lot about my accomplishments today, and I'm thankful for those accomplishments. I've been blessed to do all these different things, have my degrees, and be a White House intern. But the truth of the matter is, it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always like that. And those who may know me used to know I used to work in IT, and so I really thought I had a great thing going. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the story, but I liked working in IT. I liked helping people. I was doing well and so forth. I was in the top 5 of like all the stats and so forth. So I'm going to work one day on any other given day. And so one of my team leads says, they need you over in HR. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm thinking they got a raise for me, or maybe they got a special project you want me to work on.
That's me. It's got to be something good.
You know what I mean? Right? Like I'm doing well. You know what I mean? So, so I get over there, and then I walk into the room, and then it's my manager and it's the HR person. So then they're like, Masudi, can you have a seat? And when they ask you to have a seat, is the first, not a hello, but can you have a seat?
Right.
That's usually something different. My manager, I remember my manager wasn't even looking me in the eye because I thought my manager and I got along pretty well. And he said, Masudi, I'm sorry to tell this, but we're going to have to let you go. We're downsizing. And I was like, what? Downsizing? But I'm one of the best employees, And so, and I remember just having to walk back to my desk embarrassed, then getting, and imagine getting back to your desk and there's a box waiting for you to pack your stuff. And so I did that. And then they get to my car and I'm just frustrated and angry. But I'm like, I'll get another job. I mean, it's IT, I can do this, And so I started applying for jobs. But I'm not hearing anything back, and then things are starting to get worse because then I had money saved, but now I'm running out of money. And, the people who you pay rent to want their money every month.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I remember getting
bills
to the point where
coming.
Bills keep coming. And then I couldn't even afford to put gas in my car. And I just remember being like, it was just like the lowest point in my time. I remember having to call my younger brother. And I was like, George, can I come stay at your place? It was probably one of the most embarrassing things. He was like, yeah, of course.
Humbling. Yeah.
And so I get to his house and I'm sleeping on the floor and I'm on this floor because it's a 1-bedroom apartment and the couch has a spring in the middle. So you can sit on the left side or the right side. Wow. My brother was not balling, but he was like, yeah, I got floor space for you,
But I'm gonna share whatever such as I have, I'm gonna share with my brother. That's
So I'm sitting on the floor and I'm just, my head is, I remember lowering my head and just like, how did I get here? I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. But what I realized, I had been casual about my life. I had not really been intentional, And so what I realized is that as much as I love computers, my goal was to go into business and be an entrepreneur. And I hadn't even finished my school yet. And so after giving it some thought and going through stuff, I realized I had to reposition myself. So I remember literally standing up and just kind of dusting myself off and figure what is it I'm going to do? And so, I went down to school and I registered and so forth. And even the registration wasn't even a simple process because I had had a $1,500 balance that I didn't really want to deal with. Again, not being casual about my life, not being intentional, not taking care of stuff that you're supposed to be taking care of, and God had a better plan for me because when I got there, I was like, I got this balance I need to take care of. And I wasn't even professional, just to be honest with you, because I was just embarrassed. And I was just like, I'm trying to do the school thing. I know I need to represent myself to do school, but I didn't really think it was going to necessarily going to work. And they said, you have no balance. I was like, what? They said, you have no balance. What? And they said, yeah. So that $1,500 or whatever, that was already credited because of A, B, C, D, and X, Y, Z. I don't even know what they said.
It didn't matter.
It didn't even matter.
The zero balance. Oh, exactly. That's awesome.
And so from that point on, I went into school, but then I made sure that I was studying business, things that I wanted to do in that direction. And so that's when I talk about repositioning, that's kind of where that comes from. Repositioning yourself, which means to intentionally change the direction and to intentionally change the perception of you or your business. So why is that so important? The most important thing when it comes to that is because before you can have a clarifying message, and people are going to tell you have all these different things when it comes to running your business, before you can have a clarifying message, before you can be a great storyteller, before you can achieve the success you've been waiting for, you have to be positioned correctly. And some of us, like myself, we're already on a path that we've chosen, whether we chose it, whether it's chosen for us. Sometimes it was chosen for us by whatever the circumstances were.
Right.
So then it's necessary for us to be repositioned, to mean change direction. But you have to do it intentionally. And so that's what repositioning is about. And so a lot of times when entrepreneurs, they're not getting the traction that they're hoping for, they're not getting the customer engagement and so forth. And so I try to help people clarify their niche so they can kind of have a better area of focus, right? So they can start positioning themselves to be the expert in their particular area. So people would start seeing them as the answer. You know, like I mentioned the gentleman before who had he's a travel agent, but he's also doing credit repair. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with having multiple tasks. When you're a creative, you have a lot of multiple tasks, but really you want to, I encourage you to pick one thing, focus on that, allow that to go deep so that you can now, when people are going to look for a second answer, they're going to come back to you because people are looking for a specific answer to a specific thing. And when you help them with that one thing, they're going to say, you know what? This person helped me with this. Let me ask them this question, you know, and then you'll be able to say that I have other services too. The people who make the most money, and I talk about money that often, but people are the ones who are specialists, right? When you, heaven forbid, if you have to go get heart surgery or something to that effect, right? Are you going to go to a general practitioner? I'm sure they know a little bit about hearts, but you're probably going to go to a heart surgeon. You're not going to just go to just anybody because they are, and what makes them a specialist? Because they reposition themselves to not just focus on all areas of the body, but just on their heart. And what happens is they're working on that area over and over and over again. So they learn the questions that are asked over and over again. And that makes them the specialist in their particular area. That's why when you call for tech support, sometimes you got to get to a level 2 or a level 3 or a level 4, because by the time you get to level 4, you're looking for a particular answer to a particular problem, not just something that just anybody can answer for you.
Wow. That was excellent. Analogies, examples, your history, everything. And even though I am ordained, I'll make a terrible minister because I'm not going to re-preach that sermon you just gave us right there. I'm going to thank you, Dr. Masudi Stolard, for being an amazing guest. If you want to know more about him, check him out at mstolard, STOLARD.com.
Yes.
And thank you all for listening to Perpetual Motion with Dr. Moe Anderson. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Visit my website at www.drmoeanderson.com for more about my books and workshops, or to schedule me for your next event. Please subscribe, like, and leave a rating. If you share this episode to social media, remember to tag me at drmoeanderson.com. Now go renew, review, and renew. Smooches.